All right, we're doing one more, internet. We're doing one more. Because we're drinking, we're having a good time. We got the setup, we're on a roll. I just kind of wiped this down with Windex. Didn't quite get it perfect. You're not really picking up quite the gold colors that I'm getting here in person, but it's pretty close. Look how good those blue buttons look. None of that blue and gold, I think, just looks tremendous. Looks fantastic. So I wanted to come back and re-look at this spinner after my last review, because there were a couple things I noticed almost immediately, because I did that one as an unboxing and had some things to say, and then I've seen some comments, and most of the comments that I've seen are from people that don't have it, and I kind of wanted to address those sort of things based on what you see looking at it. Sorry, we got to adjust the light there. So when I was looking at this, I had a couple things to say about how finicky it was in terms of the double bearing, the way the buttons went in, and that sort of stuff. I'm just not real happy with how this light is here, internet. Let's try that. Yeah, that's as good as I guess it's going to get. Lighting is very important, especially if you're doing videos. You got to have good light. And my light setup really isn't that great, but I make do with what I've got. So we get good enough quality here, right? I like to say my video quality is pretty good. So anyway, so I just kind of wanted to readdress some of these things. I don't know if I'd want to consider this a review or a first look. I think I'd consider this a review at this point. But yeah, so this thing is pretty incredible. It's titanium, it's light. You guys know me, I like my heavy spinners, right? We just talked about this. Look at this, hold on. If you're just watching this video and you didn't watch these other videos, let's comparisons, right? 216. 50, right? Like, this is more than 4 of these. Yeah, it's just a light spinner. It's titanium. It almost feels flimsy because it's titanium, right? It's super light. It's just kind of how titanium is. You know, I had a little bit of concern with the finish on it as well. I shouldn't say concern, but like I'd wished it was a little bit shinier. So here's what I did. I went and I put Flitz metal polish on the whole thing. I wasn't sure if that would ruin the finish or not, and it didn't. It really just brightened the finish up, made it a little shinier. And then in doing that, that surface got just a little bit smoother and really brought it to life. So as much as I didn't really want to have to do anything to the finish on this one, and it's the Magnus finish that I wanted to be immaculate and perfect and not have to touch, at the same time, like, especially like putting Flitz metal polish on something, that's something anybody can do, right? Like, I get it if you're not going to, you know, do custom anodization and you're not going to put mirror polishes on things, right? Like, that's something that I get is not something that everybody can do, but anybody can take a microfiber cloth, Flitz metal polish, rub it in there a little bit, wipe it down, and be good to go. And yeah, so I did it to the buttons, I did it to everything. It really brought this thing to life. So that right there was something. I don't think I really spent enough time talking about these corners and these edges and chamfers. So like if you look at the stone wash that's on the surface, and then you get to these corners and edges, it just looks like everything's been worn down slightly, right? Like it's almost kind of an antiquing style, like rounding to all the corners. It's not even, right? It's a little more rounded here on all the connection points where everything meets up. And then it's nice and smooth. It's almost like a polished finish as opposed to a stone wash finish. Something else I didn't highlight in the video, in that first video, like, but the surface is like a mirror when you get it at the right angle. So when you're kind of looking at it here, it looked a little dull, but when you put it at like a high angle, like it's just this amazing finish. I'm really enjoying spinning it at like a really acute angle and like just looking at the reflection off of it. Like, see that reflection there? It's pretty neat. The spin profile with the way like you get this light reflecting in the middle with all its chamfers and all its edges, right? Like you see this pattern here, the way the light reflects off it, but when you spin it, it like straightens out. It's really fun in that respect. The buttons, remember how I was complaining about the buttons? Like, you know, they were loose. The 2 bearings made it feel loose. Like, I don't know what magic happens, but I've used 3 different sets of bearings in there. Right now I've got the HCZs, the zirconium nitride balls, or zirconium oxide. Yeah, zirconium oxide versus silicon nitride. I've got the zirconium oxide balls in there from FZ Essentials. And I also did it with the HC1s as well as I didn't play with it too much with the bearings that are in there. But the buttons, you know, so I mentioned, I used a little bit of glue. I did not really kind of like how that seemed like it was starting to feel after a little while, so I took that out. Oh yeah, and I used HC2s. No, SPV2s. You know, just kind of his standard super bearing version 2s. I shouldn't say standard because they're still amazing bearings. But something happens where the bearings where the buttons and the bearings stick together. Like I can't spin these buttons independently. And I've not used any glue. I've not used anything. They just sort of just get that way. I don't know what it is. So that issue with the double bearing and the buttons, not an issue at all. The other issue with I've heard some people, you know, about the thickness of the spinner. Because of its lightweightness and it kind of looks chunky, it does not feel and fidget like a chunky spinner. You can get your fingers in here and get excellent pulls. The way this swoops up, it almost feels like it starts to, like the angle starts to get a little more acute and almost like swoop back in. Like it certainly doesn't swoop back in, but it almost feels like you start running into something that's starting to push back at you. Even though it looks like, I think it's the same curve, the same plane. Maybe it gets a little more acute there at the end. It feels fantastic to hold, like just holding it like this. I actually have done this more with this spinner than any other spinner. And then in this spinner review, I mentioned bringing this back. I've been doing this a lot. Oh no, it was this one. In this review. I mean, I've been doing it with a lot of my spinners, but it's because of this guy. This does that style fidgeting so well. The HCZs in there give it just the slightest bit of feedback. It's lightweight, it's fast, it's pocketable. Especially, again, the anodization that's on here for me, you know, gives it a little bit extra. It's got almost like a bronze look to it. Like, right, here's a well-patinaed bronze, but if you kind of look on the inside, right? So it's got some excellent colors. The buttons look good. The buttons feel good, right? These really remind me of Kong buttons quite a bit, or Talisman buttons, right? Talisman buttons, right? You see the similarities there, which are great buttons. I just like a simple dish. I'm a simple man. I like a simple dish. I'm a military man. I like a military meal. What's that from, people? Someone's gonna know that. Who's gonna know that? I think Glenn's gonna know that. Michael might know that. I'm trying to think of the. It's funny trying to get everybody's name versus what they comment as under, but there's a couple of you guys that are gonna know that. But anyway. Pulling like this, good. So this has just been like a really amazing spinner the more I had it. So I was really excited to do that unboxing, but I felt like it wasn't really doing it justice, even after watching that review and finally getting it up there, or editing the review and getting it up there. I was like, I'm gonna have to come back to this because this is so good. And it really is so good. So I know, and again, you may have things to say about the way this looks and your opinion on it. Some spinners you can get a look at and you can just know how they're going to spin, how they're going to feel, how they're going to fidget. Some spinners catch you by surprise, and this is one of the ones that it looked like it was going to be cool, but did catch me by surprise. And again, like this is like, I love this box. Look at this box. Just a sweet little bamboo box. I don't know if it's the weather here that's causing it to snap together now, but it just fits together so snug, so perfect, so wonderful, so fresh and so clean, clean. Ain't no box as dope as me. I spin so fresh, so clean. So, do we have anything else to say on it? I think I covered all the points that I really wanted to. Really had the edges. I've really grown to appreciate the slight mirror that it has, especially at high angles. I've really grown to appreciate, after giving it a Flitz polish, it's been great. The double bearing thing that I thought was an issue has turned out not to be an issue at all. Throwing some HCZ bearings in there with a little bit of feedback. Because it's lightweight, I'm not worried about spin time, so I can really appreciate the feedback, and something a little lighter can, in some ways, amplify and in some ways dull down the feedback, right? You don't have it vibrating through this massive piece of metal, yet at the same time it's a little easier for it to vibrate and move from the bearings. So just brings these bearings to life, and these bearings bring the spinner to life. So just like anything, you put a little extra something into it, you get that much more out of it. So for me, metal polish, anodization, the right bearings, and then boom, world-class spinner. This was good to begin with, but now it's like, it's another level. It is up there. It's high on the list. It would be bumping things out of the top 20 for sure. It would probably surprise even me if I did that list now and had to try to fit this in where this would end up. So really, really great spinner. Looking forward to the air. I'm a little worried about the air, just looking at the size of it in terms of how much it's actually going to weigh, but the fidget factor on it looks phenomenal, especially after having this guy and appreciating some of the wideness and the chamfers and the size. I think the air is going to be a little smaller, but something similar to this. I think it's something like 52 millimeters wide, but it's also very thin, wide chamfers, wide arms that still taper out. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be really good, y'all. So it should be shipped. So anywho, and then hey, shameless self plug. I'm selling this if anybody wants it. $275 shipped. Let me know. That's retail on this is $275. So I'm just trying to get back what I paid for it. I think they pop up on the secondary market, and I think lately they've actually been going a little under retail. I wouldn't feel good for me personally letting it go for less than retail when I haven't really done anything with it. So if there's a couple out there and they go that way, but if someone wants it, I'm not looking for anybody to help me out. I don't need like financial help, but at the same time, I wouldn't feel good letting it go for less than that. So personally. But I just don't really feel like I need it in my collection. I don't feel like it's earned a permanent spot. So, but this has. Woo! The Ego. I don't think I even told you the name of it when I started this. I might carry this the rest of the day, y'all. Now I got to decide when I'm going to carry the rest of the day. Anyway, Internet. Kisses. Love you.